Sherlock Holmes is the most iconic figure in the detective fiction genre. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle pioneered the creation of this genre, and his creation of Sherlock and Dr. Watson paved the way for the future of detective fiction as a whole. In this documentary, I will cover how different people have interpreted Sherlock in TV adaptations, the media, and pop culture, and how it differs from the original. Holmes has been portrayed in many ways, but to find out how each portrayal came about, we must return to its roots. To see how Sherlock engaged in the public, we must set ourselves back in the Victorian era. In the Victorian era, crime was large. Many people in poor regions had little faith in the police and didn't bother to call them in case of a crime. However, it was in the Victorian era when the pattern of crime began to drop. About the time the Sherlock series began, the Metropolitan Police was founded, however, used little scientific methods for crime solving. With the scene set, Conan Doyle was able to publicize the genre of detective fiction. By involving new and creative ways of solving crime, Sherlock Holmes was able to captivate new readers and continues to amaze them to this day. On to Sherlock as a character himself. Conan Doyle is excellent at conveying his features and abilities. In many of the stories, he is shown to be infallible, incapable of failing. In A Scandal in Bohemia, Watson describes Sherlock as the most perfect reasoning and observing machine that the world has ever seen. By describing Sherlock as a machine, it suggests that Holmes is perfect and constantly works hard to solve all the crimes he is faced with. Although he is the master detective and excellent at everything he does, he appears to mainly be a loner. Apart from Dr. Watson, Holmes does not seem to have any friends. This is an excellent piece of information put in from Conan Doyle, as Sherlock has focused so much on his career he has negated personal relations and other people. Today, in the 21st century, Sherlock has had a period of over 100 years to evolve. During that time, his personality has changed widely. Sherlock is shown to have a widely unusual character on the BBC's TV series. In A Study in Pink, he is described as a high-functioning sociopath.
Right about you. You're a bloody psychopath. High-functioning sociopath.
Other people have described him as a psychopath, and in The Hounds of Baskerville, Watson mentions to Lestrade that he believes Sherlock to have Asperger's syndrome.
Yours to his Asperger's?
Sherlock is described this way as he is shown to have terrible social skills and vulgar manners. Also, he exhibits some sensory sensitivities, which are usually associated with people on the autism spectrum. He is shown to do many stimming behaviours, including pacing, hopping, spinning, and rocking when he is excited, upset, stressed, or concentrating. Going further, Sherlock does not seem to understand people's emotions. After Sherlock's fake suicide in the Rhinebeck Fool, he seems not to understand Watson's grief after his death. We can infer from this that Sherlock is quite a social outcast and does not understand some things that generally would be obvious to us. Sherlock's behaviour when talking is fascinating. He speaks very rapidly and precisely.
I know you're an army doctor and you've been invalided home from Afghanistan. I know you've got a brother who's worried about you, but you won't go to him for help because you don't approve of him, possibly because he's an alcoholic, more likely because he recently walked out on his wife, and I know that your therapist thinks you're limp psychosomatic quite correctly, I'm afraid.
Without caring to think if others can understand him, he often used a vocabulary which is extremely advanced or unusual to the situation. Many of our perceptions of Sherlock stem from the new interpretations of Sherlock in films, TV series, and books. Conan Doyle was able to use 4 tales and 56 stories to introduce Sherlock, while leaving room for a lot more development. Sherlock Holmes has been interpreted in so many ways from the original stories that he has developed features which are different from the original series. Sherlock's iconic deerstalker hat is not mentioned once in any of the original books, and his famous catchphrase
Elementary, my dear Watson,
is never mentioned once. However, in the TV series, it is quite popular. Another notable difference between the books and the TV series is Sherlock's manner of deduction. In the books, he is shown to explain his conclusions thoroughly to Watson in a way he can understand, whereas in the TV series, Sherlock is fast-paced and speaks his thoughts. The speed at which he goes is quite impressive, and it really makes an impact on how incredible Sherlock is in comparison to the originals. The BBC have done a great job at portraying Sherlock Holmes. They have been able to show the viewers how Sherlock would have been like in contrary to the Victorian era. By Victorian standards, Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes was extremely rude in his communications. He often jumped into conversations without formal introductions, made personal comments to strangers regarding their lives, and treated all people of all social classes the same. Today, we are a lot less formal in our social lives and are a lot more casual. For Sherlock to be considered outrageous and eccentric, he would have to go a lot farther. I believe the BBC have done an excellent job producing the original effect from the books. Writers have included many pop culture references to Sherlock Holmes in their own writing to assist in plot development. By raising the intellectual level of a scene, it acts as an Easter egg for an attentive audience. The most popular use of Sherlock in pop culture is referring to someone as Sherlock, either referring to their intelligence or being sarcastic. Sherlock Holmes, when it was still being written and developed by Conan Doyle, was also incredibly popular to the public and widely available because it was released in a magazine. In 1893, Conan Doyle attempted to end Sherlock Holmes in The Final Problem. In the story, Sherlock was killed off by falling off the Rhinebeck Falls. The public did not react well to this. The magazine in which the story was published barely survived due to the rush of subscription cancellations.